we can start.
Okay, I have been given permission to start. I'm having a great conversation in Freiburg, yeah, or near Freiburg. You're in
Near
Freiburg,
to Freiburg, exactly.
in Germany, with Mexican pianist Claudia Corona, and I say that quite deliberately because it's the whole point of our conversation. You are now married to a wonderful German. You've been living in Germany for many, many years. You have a career in Germany, but you are Mexican and you are doing a great, great service for your country, for music, for all of us in the arts, because this repertoire, I'm not ashamed to say, uh, homage to José Rolón. I don't know what the piano. This is a 2019 two CD release on TYX Art. It's a German label, I think. Yeah.
It's a German label, exactly.
And
Peaks Arts.
I'll put up all the information about how to buy this wonderful, honestly, really wonderful set of the piano music of José Rolón, also including the piano quartet. Uh,
Mhm.
this fabulous composer, really so beautifully trained. The structure, the work, the compositional skill is so fabulous. The music is so interesting and unique and genuine. And yes, he studied in France. He studied with Boulanger. He studied with Dukas, but came back to Mexico. And so, I mean, it's this whole story, and we're going to, I hope, touch on it. Let's talk about who Claudia Corona is, okay? As I said, Mexican pianist based now through her studies and falling in love. We'll talk about that in Germany for many years. How long have you been in Germany? Since 97 or something?
Since 1994.
94.
Yes, 1994. These are 25 years.
Oh. So, and still I hear a little Spanish accent.
I don't know. The first time I was in Germany, I was 3 years old because my parents also studied here in Germany. So this was my first touch with Germany. So I was in the kindergarten here in Germany, and I learned it very as a very young person.
And also, by the way, I see about your debut in Mexico at the age of 8 and so on. So you've had a little bit of travel even, before your teen years. Tell me a little bit about your parents. I was not aware. Were they also musicians, or were they studying other things? They were grad students, I guess, something like that.
Yes, exactly. Both parents are pianists, and my mother is more in the Baroque scene, and my father is also composer, and he combines very normal the standard repertoire with jazz repertoire. So he plays also jazz, and I grew up in this family, and so I have music from the beginning. And they studied also here in Germany, master's degree. And so this is the history with my parents.
And I am so, I cannot tell you how jealous I am of that kind of thing. I hear all the time of these wonderful musicians who live in that artistic, aesthetic, musical environment with their parents and so on. Ah, incredible. Graduated as a pianist from the music department of the Universidad Veracruziana, am I close? In Jalapa, I hope, Mexico, and your master's degree in performance at the University of Music in Freiburg. So you have this opportunity. It looks like 1996 or something around there, 94, as you said. You leave Mexico. How traumatic was that? Oh, well, you had been there before as a young child, so it was kind of almost like coming home, huh?
Exactly.
And so, yeah.
And not really dramatic, of course. I had to leave everything and make a new complete start. But I had already many friends here in Germany, and they helped me to feel good. And I had great teachers here at the university. I started first with Robert Levy. Maybe you know him.
I know of his name, yes.
pianist and musicologist, and I had this very close unity with Edith Picht-Axenfeld. He was a teacher here at the Musikhochschule Freiburg, and I knew her from beginning.
By the way, you are on the faculty at the Music School Freiburg now, yes?
Exactly, I'm also a teacher now.
So that is quite wonderful to make that matriculation from student to faculty member. That all by itself is quite wonderful. So musical family, you go to Germany. Okay, when did you fall in love?
When did I?
When did you fall?
It was very soon. So yes, I got married in 1998. So
so you have had a career. You have a kind of bicontinental career, don't you? Still, I mean, you do return to Mexico. You do concerts and recitals, yes, and then of course throughout Europe and so on with your locality in Freiburg.
Yes, I'm going. For example, in 2 days I'm going to Mexico. I will play a recital on Thursday in Mexico City. So it will be a very nice program with European, Mexican, and Argentinian music.
Ooh, and speaking of Mexico City, as I said to you before we taped, and it has to do with where we're going to take the conversation a little bit. Mexico City, a great metropolis, a cosmopolitan city, a great and marvelous place, and still a very good value for travel.
Exactly.
Very good. You were not raised, on a farm in the middle of Jalisco state, shall we say, because Jalisco comes up a little later in the conversation, but in the great city. And again, people still to this day are not kind of quite clear that Mexico City is a great, wonderful, glorious, and safe even metropolis. So it has to do with this composer. I want to get back to the beginning a little bit. The CD, as I said, is a TYX art release. I'll put all that information up at performingartsreview.net. We'll put up the video interview and videos of your playing and so on. Homage to José Rolón, indeed. What a service you've done to your country. As I said, Piano Works and the Piano Quartet. And this composer lived from 1876 to 1945. And it's very important to understand this. And he's, as we've discussed, studied in Paris, as everyone did who had talent and wanted a career. But here I'm going to kind of run by these pieces. By the way, let me just check this off. World premiere, world premiere, world premiere, world premiere, world premiere.
Many of them, it's the first time. We have now this new possibility to hear the music.
It's incredible. What did you do a dig through libraries, or how'd you come upon this composer? What triggered this?
Okay, I will start to talk about this. Rolón died 1945. And after his death, he was not really played very often. And in the 1980s, there was a Mexican music reviewer who expressed the complete absence of the music of Rolón in recitals and concerts. The difficult access to his music through recordings and scores, even the absence of knowing his name between professional musicians and students, he found it very regrettable. And this stayed like this for the next decades. And just a very little list of musicians could make an effort to change the situation, this lack. And in my case, I never heard about Rolón until I became his piano concerto score as a present from Mexican conductor Luis Herrera de la Fuente. Luis Herrera de la Fuente, this was in 2002.
By the way, was that a hint from the maestro?
What?
Was that a hint from the maestro when he gave you that piano concerto score?
He gave it to me, and he wanted to know what I think about this piece. And he was the conductor. I made my debut when I was 8 years old, and so we had a very close relation. And we made also other concerts together in the later years. And so I became this score, and during I was making a first reading of the piece, I was really touched and impressed by this music, by this excellent written music, which enchanted me immediately by its aesthetics, its rich harmony and rhythm. I didn't know before any Mexican piece like this.
By the way, you took every single word out of my mouth. Those are exactly my impressions when I started listening to this CD and to the concerto. It's like, where has this man been? This is genius. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Continue, please.
Yes, and afterwards I played the concerto again, and then I recorded it 2013 in Germany with the Nuremberg Symphony under the baton of Gregory. This was really the beginning of my big interest a long way with Rolón. So this was, I said, 2002. Then the recording of the concerto was 2013. And during this recording project with the orchestra, you mentioned I also recorded Rolón and Siemann piano concerto. I met the descendants of Rolón, two enchanting madams, now close to be 90 years old, the composer's granddaughters. And both refer me to a musicologist who met them for several times for having access to Rolón's music, letters, photographies, and documents for his musicological research, being able with this material to write a couple of books about Rolón's music and life. Unfortunately, since the granddaughters lent him this archive just by word of mouth, this archive has not been yet open and accessible for the public. So this is, of course, a difficult point. And I had the fortune to get a part of the material to make my work before all this disagreement happened between descendant and musicologist, and could complete this material by another musicologist who made a copy of Rolón's archive 30 years ago. So, so we have now the new possibility to hear and enjoy this music and bring honor to José Rolón, give him closer the place he deserves, and complete a bit more the Mexican music canon.
Yeah. And I'm going to plunge a little bit into things about issues like prejudice, issues like racismos. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
And the reason is because I would like to play my own guinea pig.
Okay. I would like to tell some reasons,
please,
which can be the point. I think it's very important to mention it. First of all, Rolón was born in the Mexican province, so he went to Paris, and he was also some periods in Mexico City, but he went always back to his city, to Jalisco. So Mexico has been a very centralist country, and everything what happens outside Mexico City is not really important or not existent. So this is one point. together with the reason of the archive. If you cannot access to the music, then you cannot play the music. So I hope this situation is going to change very soon, and all the material will be donated to a public library in Mexico.
And we touched on this a little earlier. What I'm trying to get at is, in my own life, I had prejudices as a young conductor. All of us have prejudices. We talked a little earlier about the idea that works that were, even by major composers, that were not really recorded, I came to the happy conclusion that they must not have been worthwhile. Now we know better. And also about composers, especially Latin composers. You know, I was focused on Northern European repertoire. So even as an American, I tended to, or maybe even especially as an American, I tended to, I knew Carlos Chavez, and then the record goes a little blank. So you can, and I know there are others that will come to mind, but the point is this attrition in terms of being aware of the art coming from other countries, especially other countries that have struggled or that are in some way considered less than. You know what I mean? So for me, the revelation, and then I'm going to get back, let you talk some more, but not only is this 2 CD set a wonderful combination of his French pieces, Les Papillons Blancs, and so on, and also and his French training with the best in the world, really, but also his distinguishable, unique, as you mentioned in your own words, utterly interesting and characterful own writing. So here is a master, thank you, Madame Boulanger, of composition, who never loses track of his own something, whatever that special thing is, whether it is Mexican or whether it's just Rolón. That's what I was getting at. And so and then I'm going to shut up here, but the wonder for me is that we now have these recordings.
Yes.
Now the catch is to make sure other artists, because everything on this 2 CD set is not only challenging to professional musicians, but extremely accessible, hardly ever heard, frankly, I'm quite sure, and gorgeous and enchanting, and as you said, some of it is lovely salon music, some of it is impressionistic, of course, some of it is even a little modal and pentatonic. I mean, he explores all of this material, but it's still uniquely Rolón. Now it's your turn.
And he took another way during musical nationalism. He didn't use trivial use of folklore effects or how other colleagues did. I think his work is very the word in English, personal. It's very personal. It's not a copy or try to do something Mexican. So
or even try to do something French. There are the influences, but this is all very unique material. So that puts him way up above where he has been. Okay,
yes,
sorry.
Yes, and I think it's also interesting to hear how he started to write his salon pieces in a great way, and then we have the piano quartet. I think one of the best written in Latin America on that time. This was 1912 during Mexican Revolution.
Thank you for reminding us about that, the upheaval that the country was in right through the whole beginning of the 20th century, right? 2 or 3 revolutions in that period. But also, as you mentioned, this piano quartet, as I listened to it, I thought, this is major repertoire. And yes, it's European in a stylistic manner without sacrificing his own unique character. Excuse me, go ahead. That's the beauty. Oh, let's mention that your colleagues on this fabulous playing by violinist Michael Denebier, I think, probably French, Swiss French, something like that. Also something about Freiburg. Yeah.
Yes, Michael Dienerbier is from here. He's playing at the SWR Symphony Orchestra.
And then Viola Sylvie Attenberger, also Freiburg, a colleague, I think, right, on the faculty there.
Yes, exactly. She's French, although he doesn't have such a French name. And
Attenberger, so somewhere around Deutschland.
Exactly. And Michael Vollhardt, a very German colleague.
Really. Let me practice. Walter Michael Vollhardt. But those are your musicians on the piano quartet, superb playing. And let's talk about the quartet just a little bit, the piano quartet. Again, you said 1912, so it has all that character of turn of the century. Think Titanic, think, you know what I mean? Think elegance, think golden age and all of that. And it's a masterpiece. Tell me why.
Yes.
Tell me why as a musician.
Okay, for the piano part, I definitely have a piano concerto. It's very sophisticated. It's very virtuosic, exactly. Thank you. And the density is also the first movement is very dense. I hope you understand.
Yes, absolutely.
It's like
claro.
somehow told this sounds like Brahms or like Fauré. So it has.
I have in my notes Fauré.
Exactly. This touch.
And it's not imitative of Fauré.
It's not imitative.
It's absorbing the beauty of his French experience and translating it into it is a gorgeous work that needs to be performed more often, for sure. Go ahead, sorry.
And the second movement is wonderful. I love it.
Shades of Franck is what I have written down here. You know, there's just something.
Yes, it's going really deep.
Yeah. And very lush.
Yes, exactly. And then we have the third and fourth movements. Such a happiness in this music and the rhythms and the lightness and. Okay, I think
Thank you. I think you've explained.
I can describe it better if you listen to it.
Of course, but also about, and I'm just looking at my own notes here. It's a lovely. It's in one. We're talking about the third one. It's a lovely little light, as you say, 3/4 in one. It's not easy. I'm believing it's very exposed, but every bit as worthwhile to prepare as so many other late 19th century piano quartets. That's the point. Yes. That's why you recorded it. People need to know, other colleagues who are looking for repertoire. Well, here it is. And it comes from Mexico, okay? The last movement is such a grand tune. Speaking of Brahms, I mean, it's a perfect piano quartet.
Yes.
So I think we've justified that one. Okay. Now about this piano, all of this glorious piano music, especially considering that this is really these are the world premiere recordings that you've done, yeah?
Yes.
So we're talking.
It was not possible to have the scores. So it was very difficult to get the scores. So we have the situation from discontinued scores. Also from publishers doesn't exist anymore. Then we have manuscripts or photographies of manuscripts. Some of them are at the Fleischer collection in Philadelphia. There are some orchestral works. And then we have incomplete sets with a high grade of mistakes, only available in physical form in very, very small shops in Mexico. And this is very difficult to reach. So even for the piano quartet, I had to correct lots of mistakes. And so I think our next project will be maybe make new additions. And so it is possible for all interested audience or musicians to get.
Tell me, Claudia, does the Ministry of Culture award large medallions and things to hang from your breast? Because you are resurrecting this great composer for your country.
Okay, the recording is supported by the Mexican Fund of Culture. So they are really interested in supporting this kind of projects.
With very, very good reason.
Yes.
Especially in the case of this composer, what an amazing. I'm just running down Madrigal Tapatio, but I want to stop for just a minute and let you speak to me about, because we mentioned just earlier. Can you hear me okay? I hear a little echo, but I hope it's not causing trouble.
Yes, I have to concentrate.
I'm looking at the Valse Caprice, Opus 12. Let me just see when the year of composition is, because I think it's. Can you tell me off the top of your head? Let's see, the Valse, I've got it here somewhere. Hang on. Oh, 1908.
Yes.
So again, late 19th century, of course, a waltz in that really rather Austrian Germanic tradition. Come to think of it. But here's why. Let me find it again. I put lots of my usual stars after it. Because it's a variation on Rosas sobre las olas.
Yes. Okay. The composition is from Juventino Rosas. So exactly from 1888. I think you mentioned it. Yeah. Exactly. And Rolón made this transcription in I think it was 1919. He dedicated it to Arthur Rubinstein, who was touring in Mexico, and he gave him this piece like a present. And Rubinstein was also the person who gave this score, who was published in Paris, in Paris, in France. So we have the score from this, I think it was Alphonse Leduc or something like that.
And it's been adapted to, the tune itself is something about trapeze, trapeze flying through the air with the best, something. The tune is so familiar, everybody recognizes it.
Yes, exactly. This piece has been used for many television series or films, and so everyone will recognize this melody. It's very, very famous.
And in this case, Rolón plays with it wonderfully. And this is kind of what I'm getting at is, we mentioned a little earlier that he is unique in that he didn't sort of fall into a trap of writing in a European style Mexican folk tunes, for lack of a better way to explain. And yet this tune is there, but because he's a master, I mean, no kidding. This is just a delight from beginning to end. It's full of tongue-in-cheek stuff, and it's clean stuff, and it's magical, and it's charming, and it's inventive. It just goes on. It's splashy, I have here. It's incredible. It's wonderful. And by the way, not easy. Sounds to me like it's
no. It's very difficult. I think it's one of the most difficult pieces in the Mexican repertoire.
But in terms of his turning away from being trite, how's that? There's not a trite note in any of his music. It's all so inventive. And I'm thinking also, by the way, of the three very deliberate, let me find them, the three tres danzas indigenas, mexicanas, jaliscienses. Ooh, how'd I do? I live in Santa Barbara, so I have to practice all I possibly can. But three lovely little dances, and they're based on folk tunes from his home state of Jalisco. So jolly, so fun. I'm just running through here. I mean, worthy of much more hearing. These are sweet little encore pieces, at very least, and so inventive. You want to just touch a little bit on Tres Danzas Indigenas?
Okay, these Tres Danzas Indigenas, he wrote them when he was in Paris for the second time.
Homesick.
when he studied with Nadia Boulanger and Paul Buchan. Exactly. He was 51 years old when he came back to study to Paris. So he had a very interrupted life. So
I wondered that, the back and forths and back and forths. Is there any? Do you have any idea how come that happened, or is it just circumstance? A job here, a job there.
Yes, I mean he had always music from the beginning because his father was an amateur musician, and he took him when he was 14 years old for the first time to a concert to Mexico City. They traveled by horseback, 500 kilometers.
Good.
And they visited a concert offered by the German-Scottish pianist Eugene Lambert and the Spanish virtuoso Pablo de Sarasate. This was the first event and impression who led a deep connection with music to Rolón. And he started after this concert his music studies. He was 14, 15 years old, not very young. And he had also to stop these studies because he had to go back to his family, to the town, Zapotlan. And he got married at 22.
Trouble. Too young.
Yes, very young. And on this time, he didn't have anything to do with music. So he thought this is something from the past.
Was he living in the little town then? Got married in the little village,
yes.
and lived there?
Yes, he lived there. And
what kind of a life from Paris to the little village outside of Mexico City to coming in on muleback or something to see? I mean.
Okay, this was before Paris happened. So he went again to another concert. This time he listened to, he was the Polish pianist Ignaz Paderewski.
He didn't miss any of the big ones, did he? My God.
Exactly. And after this concert, this second event, he had to restart his music studies. And then he suffered a stroke of fate and got widowed during the birth of his second daughter. So he had this terrible situation, and after a time he was supported by his family and recommended advice to sell his properties for be able to travel to Paris. So he went at the age of 27 years, the first
really?
time.
What was the year, just off the top of your head? Do you remember roughly? At age 27, when he first first ever went to Europe.
Yes, he went with 27. This was the first travel.
The reason I'm asking is because if he went any time before the Panama Canal, he would have had to round all of South America on ship. I mean, in other words, maybe he went to Europe after the canal was finished, but it's a tremendous journey to study in Europe, any way you look at it.
Yes, exactly. I think he started maybe in Veracruz or something like that. Not going very.
Oh, I see. On that side of the country. Oh, how silly of me! I forgot. He could go by horse across Mexico into Veracruz, the great port city. Duh! What an idiot. Okay, I had San Francisco on the brain. I don't know, the gold rush, something. Okay, I'm glad to hear that it wasn't so bad after all.
So, and when he came to Paris, he started his piano studies with Victor Staub, and counterpoint with Georges Cassondet and Laurent Sellier, and harmony with Marc Della. So after this, some months, he changed very soon to Moritz Moskowski. He was his piano teacher. Moskowski was the teacher of the legendary Joseph Hoffmann.
Yes, very big.
Pianist. And Moskowski was very enthusiastic about Rolón. He even planned a pianist career for him. But Rolón was almost 30 years old, and he was a very shy and stern person. So he was stage fright and shy, and so he wanted to do this, and so Moskowski proposed him to teach at his piano academy. And he had also lessons in harmony and composition with André Gedange. Gedange was the teacher also from Milhaud and Ravel, among others. And he was an important influence to open Rolón a new musical spectrum to systemize his obtained knowledges. And so in his private life, he had also new girlfriend.
Was he in Europe now? In Paris.
Paris,
of course,
yes.
Paris, being Paris.
And both went to the cultural events and attended to concerts offered by Brailovsky, Furtwängler, Cortot, Godowsky, Rubinstein, and many others.
Let me stop you for just a second. Because, what was I going to say? Something about, first of all, we almost lost him from what you described when his first wife died in childbirth in the little village, devastated, all of that. We almost lost him, I have a feeling. Then somehow he pulled himself together, and again, this life from village to Paris. And then the opportunities and the teachers. So what does that say? Tremendous talent.
Yes, tremendous talent. And then after this, after 4 years being in Paris, he could have stayed and maybe teach at the Academy of Moskowski, but he was shocked by the notice of the decease of his second daughter. So he had to return immediately to Mexico in 1907. And he returned well provided with techniques and skills for his next years in Mexico as a teacher and composer. So he stayed then from 1907 till 1927 in Mexico. And at the age of 51, I'm always very impressed that he wanted to return, and
I don't understand it. that kind of ambition. At 51, it's like, oh, it's almost time to retire.
Exactly. But he was always interested, and this was the time when he wrote his Tres Danzas Indígenas Mexicanas, Jaliscienses. Exactly.
And they are so wonderful. I mean, so wonderful, and again, so unique and inventive. I'm seeing we're pushing 40 minutes, so I'm afraid we're going to have to close things down a bit. What are you burning to tell us all, especially your professional colleagues, pianists, because there are a lot of them on my list. Are you dying to tell something that I haven't asked?
What do I have to tell? Okay.
Not to put you on the spot, but I thought, sometimes I forget to ask a question that you've been waiting for.
No, we have talked about many things I wanted to talk, and I think it's important to include always compositions, music from composers besides of the canon. I think this is important because when will they play? They have also this high quality, and I think it's important. Don't forget.
Yes, and by the way, you have found a treasure trove in Rolón.
And I found a treasure, of course, and I hope this will be the beginning of many other performances of this composer. And
wonderful, and I couldn't agree more, because as we've mentioned, really instantaneously, the first piece, Les Paillons Blancs, bam! I knew it was the French influence of his studies and so on, but it was so unique. So right away you knew that this man knew what he was doing in terms of original compositional style and structure and all the rest of it. We have to end it, I'm afraid. We're talking with the wonderful Mexican pianist now living in Germany, in Freiburg, Claudia Corona. We're talking about an incredible beautifully packaged 2 CD set from
Thank you very
2019 TYX Art release, and I'll put all that information about how to buy this CD set. Homage to José Rolón, Piano Works, and the Piano Quartet, a wonderful piece of this composer, one of Mexico's most prominent composers that most of us had not had any awareness of. So I want to thank you for this great service. And likewise, your earlier CD, I'm looking at it now, the Mexican piano concertos, again, with the Nuremberg Symphony. So you're spreading the word very well. Thank you very much. Samuel Ziman, there must be a wonderful story there. Mexican composer Samuel Ziman, his concerto, and Jose Rolon's the piano concerto of which you've been speaking today. Claudia, many, many thanks. Great conversation.
Thank you very much. It was a great pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.